I want to take you through another short cycle on negotiations and a little bit of a surprise for you where I think we can wrap this whole negotiation thing up and then we'll be right on schedule for tomorrow with problem solving and group presentation. It has to do with the negotiations flowchart. Now, I've asked you to look at it several times. Now I'm going to ask you in a few minutes to use it. So would you go to it? It's the page after page 3H, chapter 3, page 3H. Now, in our company, this is nicknamed the generic flowchart because it tries to hit as many possible businesses as it can. When we do dedicated meetings for companies, we'll very often customize this flowchart. So as you run across it, if you see a box or a part of the process that doesn't fit your business, just mentally exit out. This isn't the way to do it. This is the way it gets done in many businesses, and it might not be right for your business. But at the very least, it will be right for the process that I'm going to take you through, which is the next negotiation. And I need for you to understand it. So you can either follow it in the book or up on the board, your choice. The first one really attempts to short-circuit the negotiations process. It says that smart, good, professional salespeople don't lose their glasses. Determine needs and help write specifications on the front end. Now, if and when you can do that, which is the first step in what we think is a good negotiation, that's box number 1, determine needs and help write specification, then in fact what you have done is influenced the buyer's decision before you've even started. You have played the consultant role. It's not uncommon for me, for example, to sit there with somebody and talk in terms of what are the ideal requirements for the construction of a training program. And I will say things like, well, it must be customized, and sell them why. Well, that's a specification. I will say things like it must have continuity, a phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3. It just can't be a one-shot deal. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to spec me in as the right answer when we get to it, even though I verily believe everything I'm saying on the front end. Otherwise, I'd change it. So that's my first stop. Now, let's pretend that doesn't happen sometimes, because it doesn't. Sometimes I get a phone call that says, would you come out here? We want to talk to you. We think there's a project. So when I cannot start this process and influence it, we'll start with box number 2. The prospect sends out an invitation to participate or an invitation to quote or bid. And the next thing we think you should do is approximate box 1, which is box 3. Go out, review, and discuss with the prospect what their needs are, influencing the specifications and learning the need. So in box 3, you're trying to do what you should have done in box 1, except we can't always make box 1 happen. Clear so far? Okay, now what you have is a clear set of specifications or requirements or understanding of the customer's need. The next box says, do internal homework and prepare a proper quote with cover letter. Now, the cover letter is usually your sales letter, and that does not have to be in letter form. Some of our businesses are relatively informal. We can do this verbally. But there's a notation there. It says timing for return is important. For example, if you know there's a bid out and you're not the only bidder, and someone says to you, Rita or Nancy, I want you to have this in by noon on Friday. Let's be cute for a minute. When's the ideal time to return your bid?
By noon on Friday.
Yeah, 12:59, 11:59 on Friday. You want to be last in. Okay. So timing is important. You want to be very sensitive to that.
Actually, there's a better way to do it than that, and that's ask for an extension.
Yeah, that's right. Now you've created your personal time frame. And if you're lucky, no one else knows about the extension.
Or the buyer doesn't give it to everybody else. That's right.
Okay. Now that happens a lot.
With AT&T, and that would work with Western Electric Purchasing. That time.
When that happens, you're almost assured that you're a last look preferred vendor, right?
It helps. Sometimes if they were honest, or if they were real concerned about doing their job properly, they let everybody else know, hey, we're going to allow an extension. If you want to do anything, if you want to get your bid back or do it over.
Okay.
But they didn't always.
All right, look at at this point, the flowchart separates, and it says, mail and phone for appointment to discuss. Now we're asking to consider looking at an organization chart for a minute and realizing that it isn't only the person you're trying to sell that's going to be involved in the decision. There's people that are influencing that decision. Sometimes it's economic buyers, sometimes it's user buyers, sometimes it's just in-house consultants. For example, if I am going to return a proposal to a training director, and I know that this training director is working on an assignment for a national sales manager, that national sales manager is going to have a last important word in that decision. So one thing I will also simultaneously do, and being very careful about it, is hand deliver copies to the purchasing or user departments after he has all the quotations in. And what I'm really asking for is time so that they know exactly what's going on, and then I'm also really asking for their support or help. For example, it's not been uncommon for me to say, there's going to be a meeting Friday afternoon. I know you're not invited. Is there any way you could just happen by? Because in group selling, as we'll learn tomorrow, the meeting before the meeting turns out to be one of your most powerful tools. You know, if I was going to sell 5 of you and it was terribly important, the only way I could go into that without losing sleep tonight would be to sell you individually, and know where the hell you were coming from. Maybe you wouldn't all say yes, but at least I know who was going to say no, and I could figure out what to do about that. Okay, now look at the big box that says, if it's a formal bid, try to arrange for a meeting as soon as possible to answer questions after all bids are in. Or if informal, quote, deliver quotation and ask for the business. Now, so far what we've done is go through a good consultative interrogatory type sale, ask questions, understand needs, put a proposal out, and we've asked for the business. So take a trip to the right there. It says take the order. That happens sometimes. And therefore, negotiations is not necessary beyond this point. If that doesn't happen, you come to the right, and what we're saying is determine the objection, encourage it, find out if it's price. And that's the genesis of that comment I made this morning when we were watching a little bit of the videotape. I like to ask at this point when I start to have a problem and I can't get the order, Susan, let me ask you a question. If our prices were equal, would you be choosing persuasive communication? Answer no, then I got to find out why not, because then I'm way up here lost. Answer yes, then at least I know she prefers us and we have some right to a differential. Because if you're willing to pick us if prices are equal, then we're probably in some place worth a little more. Now the negotiation process begins. Go to the top of the next page. It says isolate the objection, determine if they want to buy from you. An important thing is don't slam the door. Anytime you walk, and walk lines are well established, remember the old rule, burnt bridges are unusable. So no dumb stuff. And you do have to walk on occasion, be as tactful as you can about, hey, keep me in mind for the next time, we just can't get together this time, whatever it is, always leave gracefully. There are no points won by people that run out of the room screaming and giving symbols. Next one. Try and determine how high are we? What is the differential? For example, if the differential is too great, it might have to be a walk line. If the differential is just a little bit, sometimes you might even at that point have the option of just shrugging your shoulders and say, hey, this isn't worth fighting about. I'll take that out of my next coffee money. But you must know what you're dealing with in definitive terms. So if you're looking now at a process, you've determined they want to buy from you, you are worth some kind of a differential, but how much is the differential? Look at the next one. Try to convert small differentials like percentages to dollars or vice versa. For example, somebody may say to me, God, you're 50% high. Yeah, that's $60, right? Or vice versa, somebody may say, you know, you're $50,000 high. You know, you realize that's a half of 1%. So try and put the differential in reasonable terms, because at this point you don't want this negotiation process to go emotional on you and become an emotional issue.